again, everybody, and welcome back to Two Poets. So glad you stopped by to check us out, whether you're listening to the audio version or the video. Hello, it's so good to see you all.
Yes, it's good to be here.
It's good to have you here, Ben. So I am Corey. This is my co-host, Ben, who's taking a sip of coffee, and I caught him right when he was taking a drink. So
my first sip in 2 days of coffee. Without coffee in 2 days.
Yeah. What's that been like?
Oh, it's hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
My inner demons are screaming. It's a real torment.
Yeah, as someone who has to have coffee every day and every night, like, I don't know if I can make it a day without coffee.
Yeah. Do you drink coffee every night before you go to bed?
I do. So I drink.
I've heard of those people.
Yeah. I make a pot of coffee in the morning, put it in a thermos, go to work. And then after dinner, we'll kind of hang out or whatever. But typically around 8 or 9 o'clock, I make like another pot of coffee at night. And then I drink that and then play games and go to bed.
Does it relax you?
It does.
Okay.
Yes. It very much so relaxes me at night. So
interesting. I'm scared to do that. I'd be scared to drink a cup of coffee at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just I've done it so much that my body's like, you know what, whatever. We're not even going to try to keep you awake. We're just do whatever you want.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Your mind is like, oh, it's okay. It's this time.
Yep. Well, man, we are back for another week. This is what, episode 3?
Man,
yeah.
we're 3. We're
already
3 deep.
in.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I guess we could turn back if we wanted to, but typically there's no turning back at this point.
Yeah. What's the cutoff point?
I think it's if you do it under 10, you can just erase everything off the internet. Nothing ever happened.
Oh, okay.
If you get to 11 or more, people are going to know
11.
and they're going to hold you to that. Yeah.
Or you get 10 subscribers.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
9 is okay.
10, so.
Oh, we have more than 10?
Yeah, we have
more
subscribers.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of subscribers, if you have not checked out our YouTube channel, go give us a subscribe there. You can watch our beautiful faces as we talk to each other.
Yes, and read poetry. I was going to say we were making succulent jokes earlier. I was going to read succulent poetry, but
read succulent
probably
poetry.
not.
Yeah. But if you don't want to see our faces, which I understand, we are on
that.
Spotify, all that other good stuff. So
we get that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyways, I mean, see what went on this week. Oh, it has been stupid raining.
Yes.
So much.
And so windy.
Yes. I mean, I love,
rain
don't get me wrong,
wind.
I love the rain. You definitely needed the rain. As they say, we needed the rain. The plants are going to love this. It's been raining too much. It's not one of those just like normal rains. This is like one of those soaking, torrential, all day, didn't stop for a couple days rain.
I gotta admit something. It's my fault.
Uh-oh, what'd you do?
I got my car washed.
You're one of
And
those
that's
people.
and I was thorough too. I was out there with the wand and was like scrubbing with the brush and then I did all that and cleaned it and then I took it through the auto car wash.
Oh,
So I doubled down.
Yeah.
And so it's my fault.
That the first wash was like, okay, we'll let this slide.
Yeah, this is like the prelude.
Ben, you're tempting fate. So they're like, well,
that was it. It was too much.
that was it. Yeah. Well, everyone, if you live in Oklahoma, you can thank Ben for the rain we just got.
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean,
You're
other
welcome.
than that, yeah, it's been a pretty good week since our last episode.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with the poem that we wrote for last episode.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun because that was our first one we got to do, and hopefully you all enjoyed those poems as well. We had a lot of fun writing them, and I'm really excited about this week's poem for sure too. It's a lot darker.
Yeah,
It was definitely more depressing, but
definitely more of a challenge.
Yeah,
because we're literally just going off something that we are not familiar with. And we only have the words to go off of. We don't have.
Yeah, this one
else.
This one wasn't a theme or an object. You know, it's like here's a chorus of a song. Write a poem about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is definitely a challenge for
and
sure.
Don't listen to the song before you write it.
And we were not allowed to listen to the song before we wrote this. So if you didn't catch last week's episode, Joe Burley sent in a prompt for us. It's a chorus of a Clara Wadley, right? Clara Wadley.
Yes.
Beautiful chorus, and he just gave us the lyrics, and he was like, "Here, just or don't listen. Here's the words to the chorus. Write a poem on that prompt, and then go listen to the song."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "All right." So I wonder if I can, but part of me didn't want to match the song, you know, with what I wrote. I wanted to intentionally, hopefully, not be similar to what the song was about, to kind of have my own interpretation of that chorus. You know, but inside of me, I kind of was still kind of tying it in, but I guess we'll see with that.
Yeah, it was unusual because I either wrote something that night or the next night, and it was just, I did not like it. And so I set that aside and then went back later and ended up writing something completely different.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting experience because it's like, I want to capture kind of the feeling of this, but I don't know how, because I don't really know what the artist is talking about. Obviously they're talking about a situation with death and grief, you know, but it was just hard because it was a real challenge to take something without context and then try to mold it into something that actually fits that theme. So it was fun.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Joe, for that prompt. It
was a good one.
It was a fun challenge. Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah. And just a reminder, please send us your prompts. We would love to have your prompts that we can hopefully draw on the show. You can send those to TwoPoetsPodcast@gmail.com, or just hit us up on TikTok, Instagram, or leave a comment on one of our YouTube videos and be like, hey, you should totally write a poem about my ex-boyfriend whose stuff I burned.
Ooh.
That would make a good one.
Yeah. Let's go after that guy.
Yeah. we got you back.
We got you.
Shoot us the deets and we'll write a poem about it.
What's his name?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is part of the show. Should we go ahead and get into our poems here?
I think so, man.
Yeah.
I think I'm ready if you're ready.
I think so. Okay, so listeners, just a reminder of what the prompt was from last week. It was, we laid her ashes in Los Angeles. The music took her soul. She said, California will kill me, but the day it does, I guarantee they'll play me on the radio. They'll play me on the radio. And also, beautiful song. So please go check out this song. Claire Wadley, the name of the song was Radio
Angel.
Radio Angel. That's right. I always want to say Radial Angel because there was a band called Radio Angel. You remember that band?
Gosh. I kept thinking, why does this sound familiar?
Yeah, Radial Angel. That was like
that's awesome.
Mid-2000s, that was like Christian rock band.
That was a very, very brief moment. That's so fun.
Throwback. If you know who Radial Angel is, let us know. I completely forgot about that band until I heard that title. All right. Did I go first last week?
I think so, but you can go first again if you want.
All right, fine. I guess I'll go first this time too. Okay. So these are our poems this week. We'll read them and then we'll talk about them. The title of my poem, Ben, is The Song Blew in the Wind. Yeah, nice. The Song Blew in the Wind. All right, here we go. This is my poem by me, Corey Keller. 16 was so sweet, just like her mother, the voice of an angel. 17, with dreams of leaving, believing she was seeing her true potential. 18, came and away she went. West Coast dreams with Midwest means and 4 tanks of gas till she arrived. 19, 20, 21. What has she done? 3 years of clubs and dive bars, fame? None. 22. She misses you but can't bring herself to call. Even to talk to you about the view from her apartment looking over the city of angels. 23. Mom, I hope you like the song I wrote about you. Sorry I haven't wrote you in a while. I want to come home, but I can't because I got to see this through. I feel like I'm on the brink of making it, and then I come home. Home? What is home anymore? 24. A taste of fame for a fleeting moment, and all she could think about was home. Why does she crave home when everything she came here for was starting to flourish? 25. One last song, one last lyric, penned with tears that fell from her eyes. She couldn't keep it inside. The pain never felt this intense. But she pushed through for one last memory of her muse. They laid her ashes in L.A. Her last wish was to see the ocean, to sit with her baby girl and watch the sun set as her ashes blew into the ocean. She sang her last song.
All the feels, man. That's a heavy hitter.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah. So that was my poem. Let's hear yours and we'll talk about them.
I like that you kind of got into more of a cadence, a little bit of staccato cadence at the very beginning.
A lot more on this one than the last one. Yeah.
It's funny because mine kind of turned out in the same, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. This one was more beat style.
Yeah. Your title is very Bob Dylan. I like it.
Yeah.
That was good. So mine, I chose to kind of go on the whole grief kick, I guess. So it was obvious from the chorus that it was about someone dying, their death having influence, and everyone just kind of being like, just broken from that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I took from it. So my poem is called Chorus, and this is it. The asphalt skies spin their lies in foghorn demise, and we all despise the sun for its illumination of this present day. The moon holds its breath until its complexion swells in different hues of purples and blues. We sing to the night in relentless might songs of sorrow and pain and shameless aim, our tunes all the same. With deep breaths we bellow from the depths of our empty souls, a song we've only recently learned, and yet we yearn for yesterday before we knew the words. Everything is backwards with you gone, and we are left with nothing but a song that you couldn't even teach us on your own. We had to learn it in hollow tone. If California is the city of angels, there is one less light in the sky tonight, one less star burning bright. One more candle we must light in our vigil of remembrance before we forget. And yet that's also the last thing we want. But there is comfort in knowing the pain of your going will be long outlived by the melody you give each and every day, on repeat, in the street, matching our collective hearts beat for beat. And we will continue singing, a chorus of individuals longing for residuals from a distant future beyond our pain of loss, both present and past, until at last we can sing the song in peace without the sting of grief tugging at our shoelaces, tripping us up emotionally. And maybe even someday the song will cease to be the anthem of remorse, and we will sing it just because, bringing forth a feeling of hope by realizing that this wasn't the end. There's more to this song than just a chorus ending with ashes to ashes and dust to dust.
Dang. I like that a lot.
Chorus.
Chorus, nice.
Yeah.
I love how we both kind of tied in songs to the poem there.
Yeah, it's interesting how there's like mutual aspects, I think.
Yeah, and we both used the line City of Angels.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. When you said that, I was
funny.
like, oh, okay. Nice.
No, I like the flow of that one a lot, man.
Thanks,
that was
man.
really good. Yeah, yeah, the rhyming scheme, the cadence, everything on that was just really good. Yeah,
Appreciate that.
nice. So, yeah, so when I was writing this one, my thoughts for it were obviously the numbers that I was numbering were the years of the girl's life, starting at 17 or 16 and ending later on. I thought it'd be cool to kind of you're taking a ride through the story of her life, kind of where she got her dream and then her dream ended, you know, with one last song. It started with a song and it ended with one last song, losing someone that she loved, her mom. And so that was kind of my flow with that. And so I kind of just wanted, we kind of hear that same old story of, if I'm going to make it, I got to go to LA. If I'm going to make it, I got to go to New York. If I make it, I got to go to Nashville.
Yeah.
You hear those places that if you're going to make it, you got to go to one of those places, and some people take the risk, some people don't. And some people realize you don't have to go to those places to make it, and so there's different variations of that. But I was like, okay, what if I took that cliche, or it's not really cliche, I guess people still do that, of just going to this city. I'm going to leave at a young age, full of hopes and dreams, and then you just get beat down. I try and try year after year, clubs and bars, and just get beat down. And you literally have a 50-50 chance. You're either going to make it or you're not going to make it. There's rarely any in between, And so I was like, okay, I want to follow the life of this girl who's like, I've got a lot of potential. I'm going to take my risk, take my shot. But then you start to lose yourself over those years. It's like, I'm sorry I haven't called so much. I hope you like what I've been doing. I got to see it through. I can't come back home. I have to actually see this through and go through it. And then Yeah. And just eventually you get to the point where it's, okay, I didn't make it.
Yeah.
I have to accept that now. And now I've lost something that I could have maybe focused more on, something that I loved, someone that I loved. And then, yeah.
Yeah. And it's telling too, because even if they did make it, they would not be the same person they were starting out. And something about that person, they start out with such like vigor, you know, they have like charisma and they're excited and they have a few failures and it doesn't matter because they're doing what they love. And then
exactly.
the world eventually just kind of beats it out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't make it, then it just like, they are just like this hollow individual who's given everything they have to give and there's nothing else. And they go back home and they're just like, you know, they're that empty, sad character that no one knows anything about. Or if they do make it, then they're still that hollow, empty person. Now they're just surrounded by fame and people that care about money and all that. So it's an interesting concept either way, because the journey changes you.
Yeah.
Nobody starts out with that same vigor and ends up where they want to be with that same innocence and that same charisma. You know, there's something about that journey that you either have to sacrifice or you have to like completely just change yourself to make it, you know. It's an interesting perspective, man.
Nice. Yeah. And a lot of the same way when I do a lot of writing is I'll throw, you know, like I said, my headphones on and listen to music while I'm doing writing. And while I was writing this one, I was like, okay, I'm going to be very specific about the music I'm listening to while I write this. So I found like a bunch of like female singer-songwriters, and just like found a bunch on YouTube and just let this playlist roll. Yeah. While I was writing this, I was like, I want to get in the mind of, you know, a young female singer-songwriter who's out there writing songs. And so that was cool because I got to find a bunch of new music too also while I was listening to it. And then just kind of eventually that kind of zones out in the background and you're just focused on writing. But yeah, I think I got this one written. Probably took me about an hour. An hour of listening to music and then just kind of going through that. And I was really surprised at how well this one actually flowed out compared to last week's. This one's like, once I started, it was like, okay, just keep going. Okay, yeah, cool.
Just keeps going. There's something about when you get into a cadence rhythm, it flows easier sometimes. Yeah. Mine kind of started out, and I didn't intend to go that direction, but it just kind of started out that way. And I got probably, I don't know, I probably wrote through 75% of it, just kind of fleshing it out. And then I set it aside for like 2 or 3 days and didn't look at it again. Then I came back to it and I was like, I don't know if this is the poem that I want. Yeah. But it's kind of the poem that just came out. And so I came back to it and kind of went through and tightened it up in a few places where I felt it was wordy and it was kind of like reaching or forcing itself. Yeah. So I kind of got to tie that up a little bit. And then at the end, I don't know, it was interesting because it was like, I don't know where this is going, but to be able to kind of put a little bit of hope in the end of it, I think was something that I wouldn't have done if I had just done it all in one sitting. I had to like set it aside and come back to it. Yeah. And yeah, it was interesting because the only thing you have to go on is the fact that it's death and grief. Yeah. And, we all know what that feels like. And the first piece that I started to write was like from the person's perspective who has died. And it's like they are kind of in that in-between space of they can hear their song being played. Yeah. And yet they're not quite to their destination. And so they're in between. And that one it started out just kind of weak. And I was like, I don't have a good start for this. There's a moment in there that I liked because it's like the person sitting there with the angel of death concept, there's a Grim Reaper there. Yeah. And she's like, basically just saying, let's just sit and stay a while and you can hear my song and I'll teach it to you. And then you can sing it to the next person that you bring from there to here kind of thing. Beautiful. Yeah. But it just wasn't it was a very like forced piece and it was, and so like go back to this one, just the asphalt skies spin their lies and foghorn demise. For some reason, that was the tone, and I don't know why. It was just that's just kind of how it started. And so from there, I just let it kind of become its own thing. And then I just set it down and didn't look at it for 2 or 3 days.
Nice.
So it was just it was an overall interesting experience.
Yeah. Sounds like quite the journey to get there. But sometimes those journeys are great, that you start with something, don't like it, get going with something else, put it down, come back to it. And a lot of times something might trigger that first one you wrote. It's like, well, I'm going to steal some stuff from that and use it to this other thing, you know? And so
totally.
Those things are never a waste. So all of you out there who like throw your songs away or poems, you're like, oh, that's not good. They will come back.
Yes.
At that times you may grab pieces of that material and use it in the future. So,
and you can always recycle and spin that stuff into something else.
Yeah, exactly.
So, man.
No, I love that, man. That was so good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Joe, for the prompts.
Good prompts.
Yeah, good
well
prompts.
Done.
Yeah, and please, everyone, don't forget you can also send in your own prompts, and we choose randomly at the end of every episode.
Yes.
So just send it to twopoetspodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on the socials and send us a private message. You can slide into our DMs.
Mm-hmm. We give you permission.
As long as you just send prompts.
Okay. Yeah.
So this week, we kind of got to thinking, well, what should we tackle? What should we talk about? We're creatives. We do a lot of creative things. And so one of the topics we kind of decided to talk on is something that is widely different, no matter who you talk to, depending who you talk to, depending on, where you learn. But we're talking about routines. Routines, the R word.
Yeah, the R word. This is a tough subject because some people are like crazy overachieving, like have their total routine down.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like those are the most successful people. The people that have their routine, they have their like their thing that they do every day. It's never changes. And if they don't feel it, they still do it, and then there's like the people that are like, oh, I kind of do that. Mm-hmm. And then there's me. You just like wake up and you're like, I don't feel like doing anything today. I'm just going to not do it. And then it's like day of, oh crap, I have to do something.
Yeah. So then asking you directly, so then you do or do not have a routine?
I do not typically have a routine when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like I want to really bad. I'm the person that I want to wake up and the first thing I want to do is I want to sit down and write or something. I would love to have that kind of a like lifestyle where I could do that. And that's what everyone says. Everyone is like the best time of day to write is in the morning.
Okay.
When it's fresh on your mind.
Yeah.
And the first thing you do, you get up and you like have your moment to kind of become self-aware and become awake and then sit down and write because that's when your mind is like the freshest.
Yeah.
And that's really like if you can get into the routine of doing that, I mean, it becomes easier and you can do that. But it's hard to do that. I feel like if you do not have a lifestyle that accommodates that, because if you have a lifestyle where you have to get up early for whatever reason, then adding on an extra 30 minutes to that it gets hard. It gets challenging. And, because for us, especially like having to wake up so early on certain days, if you wake up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, cause you got to be at work at 5:30 or 6 or something. I don't want to get up an extra 30 minutes. And so there's usually like, it's, if you can have a lifestyle that condones that type of routine, that would be like ideal. The other type of routine, I feel like for me is usually late at night. That's when my brain probably comes alive creatively because nighttime I feel like is when there are no boundaries. Anything is possible. The day is already done. There's no stress about anything I have to do. And so most of the time when I want to actually sit and write is when it's nighttime, it's getting late and I've already done everything I need to do for the day. And so that's the time when usually I'll have those moments of like, I'll put on some music or I'll, do something to kind of like wind down. And then I want to sit there and just veg out on my keyboard or on my phone or something. And that's usually where a lot of the writing will come from, I think.
Okay, cool.
Usually late at night.
Yeah. No, I am absolutely the same way. I love late nights. That's when I'm definitely most creative, is late at night. I hate early mornings with a passion.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't want to. I would love to have the ability to wake up super early and like get so much done before I even go to work, or, those people are like, oh, it's 6 a.m. Psh, I've already been going at this for 3 hours. And I've got so
I've
much
already
done.
worked out. I made breakfast.
Yeah. 4:30 a.m. workouts. No, thank you.
Nope.
But I've tried, but no, I'm definitely a nighttime person. So for me, I don't have a set routine. And a lot of it comes from, I just do so much different things, it's hard for me to be like, to really set a routine where it's like, okay, Mondays, I'm just going to focus on this between these times, which that could be writing. And Tuesday I'll focus on, video editing and, editing some voiceover stuff on Tuesdays. And then Wednesdays I'll focus on, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because I freak out with repetition and scheduling. Like, I feel bound by that in a way. It's like, well, what if I want to do this on a Tuesday?
Totally.
But I have written down that I got to do this, and then I start getting conflicted. And I know that's something I probably need to work through, but that's just the way like my mind and my body works, is like, I don't want to feel like I have to do this on a Tuesday night of just doing video editing when I want to go do some writing or something, Totally. So I try to give myself that freedom of being able to do whatever. But so like, if I did have a schedule or a routine, my routine is basically, so at around 10 o'clock at night, it's me time.
Okay.
So from 10 p.m. to probably about 1 a.m., it's me time to, I'll either, so I watch a lot of videos like at night. So I'll sit and I'll typically for about an hour or so, I'll watch instructional videos on game design or video editing or, how to become a better writer, those kind of things. Or I'll watch documentaries by people who are in the creative field, or I'll go watch somebody I know's project. That's when I'll catch up on those kind of videos.
Totally.
And then I'll typically so one thing I'll do to kind of wind down and get my mind cleared is I'll play some video games for a while.
Yeah.
I hop on, I play some competitive CSGO. I'll, play some survival games and just kind of get my mind, just cleared out, just spend some time playing some games. And then like, all right, then I'll maybe do some writing, or I'll work on that video game I'm working on, And so 10 o'clock at night, after that, it's like, my wife, she typically goes to bed about 10 o'clock. So then it's like, all right, got the rest of the night. Let's do whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I feel like writing tonight, I'm going to write. If I feel like writing a song, I'm going to write a song. If I feel like just watching instructional videos, tutorials, documentaries, I'll just do that.
Totally.
And so that's kind of my routine, I guess you would say, which technically is routine.
That is routine.
10 o'clock, it's like, all right, I'm going to work on creative stuff. I don't know what I'm going to work on, but I'm going to work on one of a million projects.
That totally makes sense. And that's a challenge too, to give yourself the freedom to do that, because it is very easy to feel guilty when you have a schedule and you set something in stone and you're like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. And then you get there and you're like, I am not feeling that.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
you get inspired by something and you're like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So to find a place where you can actually give yourself the freedom to be okay if you don't do the thing you wrote down, or to be okay if you told yourself, I'm going to relax, and you're like, no, I feel like I want to work on this thing. Like, I think it's a really good place to be if you can allow yourself to have that mentality.
And I think it's healthy to have a balance of both, and if you're a type A schedule out person, go for it. If that's what's going to get you to get to work done. Yeah. But if you're just a free willy, whatever, that's fine too. But sometimes there needs to be a little bit of,
you need that deadline sometimes.
Yeah. And if you're a person who's always deadline, you need the freedom to just be spontaneous sometimes,
Yes.
And I was reading this thing that reminds me of this. So, there are studies out there that show creative people are the best procrastinators.
That's true, man.
And the study shows that procrastination actually births a lot of creativity. And the reason is when you're procrastinating, it's typically because you're doing something you don't want to do, right? It's like, oh, I got to get this homework done, which, you know, a lot of people are probably taking homework. Or I really need to mow the yard today, but I just really don't want to. So you procrastinate. You'll go fiddle with something, you know, make yourself a snack. And typically when your mind becomes lazy, like you first have that, oh crap, I got to get this done. Your brain's like, no. And then you allow it to be lazy right after that. The studies show that typically in that moment is when you'll hum that tune or you'll see that picture in your mind. It's like, oh wait, I got this inspiration. I'm gonna go do this, you know?
Totally.
For creative people, typically what they say is when you're procrastinating, a lot of times that's where your best ideas are going to come from. But there needs to be a healthy balance.
There does need to be a healthy balance
between procrastination and laziness. You know, procrastination, fine. We all do it. And I would say it's good to procrastinate sometimes because you're allowing your mind to search for something that it pulls those that happiness from, or it pulls that creativity from. It's searching for that because it's like anything but the thing where your brain is like, I don't want to do this.
Totally. It's true, man. The creative people, the ones that inspire and create the most unique art are usually the messiest, laziest, like most procrastinating mentality. It's crazy. It's true.
Yeah, it's weird how your mind works like that. And it's like now you're like need to find the point where it's like, how do I balance that procrastination and that laziness with actually getting stuff done and being a responsible human being?
Yeah.
You know, and remembering to shower, you know, and do those things.
Yes.
You know,
please do that.
Because you also don't want to be that person who smells bad all the time. Your house is a total wreck and not in the good kind of total wreck.
Yeah.
Because you're like, no, this is how I see my creativity. Cool, get that creativity, but also clean yourself up a little bit.
There's a difference between your house being wrecked because you were creatively doing something versus you just neglecting everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think it's funny talking about your brain being lazy because that is true. For me, it's when I am doing mindless things.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're talking about playing video games. So like back in the day, Spider Solitaire is a fantastic way to go brain dead. And sometimes that for me, like that was something that was like the best thing because it was totally mindless. I had no effort whatsoever and I could allow myself to kind of boredly do that. And then you just turn on your music and you know, you just let your mind kind of go numb for a little bit. And while you're doing that, you will find yourself coming up with ways to do certain things or subjects to talk about or things to write or ways to discuss certain things in, you know, writing or that kind of stuff because your mind is just in a point right now where it's allowed the freedom to just kind of roam a little bit. And playing video games, putting your headphones on, listening to music, watching movies late at night, that kind of stuff, for some reason it fuels. It really does give you some creative flow. I will say though, in the past, when I have been able to get up early and do something, that's when I feel the most accomplished. There's something weird about like nighttime versus daytime, because when you wake up early in the morning and you sit down and you actually write something, you have this accomplished feeling and you still have the rest of the day.
Yeah.
When you do something at night, you do that thing and then you have some feeling of accomplishment. And there's also this weird kind of loneliness in it because it's nighttime. It's just you. The day's over. There's nothing else going on. And so your mind kind of goes, it's interesting the path your mind takes emotionally, because at nighttime it can be a little bit more lonely, not depressing, but a little bit more lonely and gloomy. The morning time is a little more like maybe inspirational. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's so I've noticed myself like in different emotional levels depending on if it's nighttime or daytime.
Yeah. And
the more that I can allow my brain to have that downtime where it can just kind of roam and just kind of go numb for a little bit and not think about anything, that's another like a really good way to actually stimulate thought, you know, and stimulate creativity. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and kudos to those people who can do the mornings, get accomplished, and call it good. But I will stick with my late nights.
Yeah. I'm much more into the late nights though.
Yeah, and like I've done the whole thing where I try to, like I said, schedule out routines, and so I used to have a bullet journal that I would carry with me that looking back at it now, I'm like, it hurts my brain still, but I literally every hour of the day I wrote on here.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, this time to this time I have work. Like I even put in the things that I have to do, like, or I was like, eat lunch at noon. So like, put
you
that
penciled
on there.
that in.
Yeah, I pencil that in, and then, work between this time and this time. When I get home, okay, I'm going to shower from, 5 to 5:20, whatever, actually like every minute, every hour, I pencil that in. And then, all right, 6 to 7, this day, I'm going to focus on this. And so I tried that for a while. I did that for probably a month. And I mean, I got some stuff done, but kind of that same thing we were talking about with imposter syndrome last week. It's the minute I fail to keep any of those deadlines, those times, I was like,
nothing else matters.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I already screwed up,
and
I'm going to try. Next day I forgot to do this at 6 o'clock that I had penciled in.
Yeah.
And that's what like freaks me out is with the whole scheduling and things being at specific times is you feel trapped by those. It's like, well, I have to do this. And then if you don't do the things that you said you could do those times, it's like the world's over, explosions. It's
for sure.
You just start to feel really terrible.
You put so much extra pressure on yourself and it actually will make your anxiety like go up double, than it needs to be. I found the best way for me to schedule anything is to be like, just in a broad fashion. Okay, these are the things I need to do today. I've got a list.
Yeah.
So here's 4 things I have to do today. I don't have any specific time frame in which I have to do them, but I know that these 2 things I probably need to do before this time. So I'm like, okay, well, I can focus on one of those and do that. And then if I go to the other thing, it's okay. I still have time.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, I've still got this thing left to do, but it's the least important thing. If I try to get like super detailed with it, I'm with you 100%, man. The pressure, there's guilt if you miss something.
Oh yeah.
You feel like you're letting people down or you're letting yourself down. And so it works pretty well for me if I have a broad view and I'm like, okay, these things I need to do, I have to do this one thing before this time.
Yeah.
So I can get that one thing done. And then I'm like, okay, well, the next thing I don't have to do immediately. So I'm going to focus on these other 2 things or whatever. And that just works a lot better. Some people that drives them nuts because they're like, why would you not get this stuff done as quickly as you could?
Yeah,
exactly. And I'm like, well, I'll get it done, but I also, this one thing takes a little bit more strategic effort.
Yeah.
So maybe by the time I get to that, I've got a better idea of how to go about that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so that just kind of works. I feel like that is something that is doable and works better. If I try to put everything into a time crunch, it's stressful. Yeah. And I'm going to miss something because my brain wants to do what you were talking about earlier. It wants to procrastinate and it goes into lazy mode.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I go off trailing. And then I come back and I'm like, oh crap, I was supposed to do that like an hour ago. I totally forgot.
But
and
you got sidetracked by this awesome idea that you're like, I'm going to start that idea now. And then 2-3 hours go by and you're like, oh crap, I totally forgot I was supposed to be doing this other thing.
Oh yeah, totally.
Kitchen's still dirty. I forgot 3 hours later. Yeah. Well, let's take a look at some famous creative people's routines, shall we? To show that it can work for some people.
Well, speaking of people that are creative and yet are procrastinators or find things too difficult or time consuming, all you have to do is look at a picture of Albert Einstein.
That's true.
That guy found combing his hair too much effort.
Yes.
It was too complex.
So a lot of these that I'm going to look at are writers.
Okay.
But obviously this can be for, whatever field of creativity you're in. If you're an artist, you may have a routine with your painting, and when you sit down, if you're a graphic artist, when you sit down to work on things, you know, you typically kind of come up with your own routines. But I feel like a lot of times when people speak about routines and being creative, it's typically to do with writers. And writers are typically known for having these strict routines or no routines at all.
Yeah.
This one I kind of found interesting. So Maya Angelou, her routine for writing was she basically rented a hotel room. So she had every month she would pay for a hotel room, and she kept it dirty because she loved to keep her house immaculate and clean. And her quote was, "I try to keep home pretty, and I can't work in a pretty surrounding. It throws me." So she would intentionally rent a hotel room, keep it disheveled, and then that's where she would go to write.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't surrounded by, just things that made her happy. And, it was just like, this is kind of weird in here, but hey, I don't have to worry about it. And so she all those worries she had were just thrown off. And so she would just sit in a hotel room.
Interesting.
And that was kind of her routine for writing. So I thought that's kind of a cool idea.
It's kind of like letting your mind, giving your mind the permission to be disheveled.
Yeah, exactly.
I could see that. If I had an immaculate house, that would be the place I would go to relax and not think about anything, because everything is compartmentalized, everything is perfect, everything's tidy. And then if I go into a room that's messy and disheveled like that, I could totally see that. It's like giving your brain the permission, like, to have no limits and just go everywhere.
Yeah. And I mean, she was an okay writer, so
she was pretty good. I mean, please don't hate on us.
We love Maya. All right. Do you know who David Lynch is?
Yes. Tell me, and then yes.
Have you ever watched
my lazy brain?
Have you ever watched such great movies as Dune, Eraserhead?
Eraserhead, yeah. I actually, that's funny because Eraserhead is on my DVD player right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And my all-time favorite, Twin Peaks.
Oh, so, yes.
David Lynch is the man.
I have not gotten into the Twin Peaks
you need to watch Twin Peaks. I know. Bad. It is amazing.
What's really funny is when you watch Eraserhead, on the special features of the DVD, they actually show some of his more adverse art shorts, and they're trippy.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's
nothing
super
David
trippy.
Lynch does make sense.
I love it. And that's something else about art, that the freedom to have no boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
You should have boundaries in certain areas, for sure. But the freedom to have no boundaries, like anything goes, everything is open to interpretation. There's something like so mysteriously beautiful about that.
Oh, yeah.
And Hogan and I were watching the movie Eraserhead for the first time, and we're sitting there like, this is either the weirdest thing that we've ever seen. Not really, but there's some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Or it's like the most genius and brilliant thing that we've ever watched, because there's hidden meaning all throughout this, and we don't know what it is. And then you get to the interviews with David Lynch, and he was like, I don't know what it is either.
Exactly.
He's like, it's open to your interpretation as much as mine. And I'm like, oh, that's even more brilliant.
Yeah, Lynch is the poster person for letting your brain just do whatever the heck it wants.
I love it.
But one of the things that he did for his routine, I mean, there's a lot of different things David Lynch does, but one of his main things is meditation. He's as quoted as saying, "I have never missed a meditation in 33 years." So this is a guy who starts every day with meditation, and that's like the thing that he does to keep his I guess brain the way it is.
That's a hard one. That's, man, the intentional act of sitting down with nothing. That's hard. It's way harder than you think it is, because 2 minutes go by and you're dying. You're like, what am I supposed to do?
You're like, what's been an hour already? Feels like taking forever.
And it's amazing how often and how natural your reflex is to grab your phone. And that has been the phone struggle has probably been the biggest hindrance for me over the last 2 years.
I think it's probably a huge hindrance for a lot of people. I feel like I know this is sounding like an old person, whatever, but I feel like if we didn't have smartphones, there would, well, I don't know. I mean, there may be more creativity, or more focus in the world.
Yeah.
But I love my smartphone because it helps me connect with a lot of things.
I don't know if there'd be more creativity necessarily, but I think there would be more originality.
Yeah, there we go. Originality.
Because it's
better
so easy to pick up a phone and see what everyone else is doing. Yeah. And everyone tries to mirror that and copy that and trend off of that. And it's the new, like, your cell phone is the latest, most fashionable drug. Because the second my mind wants to relax or zone out, the first thing I do is grab my phone. Yeah. The second I want to distract myself, I grab my phone. The second I want to inspire myself or find something creative or find information or something, I grab my phone.
Yeah.
And the act of meditation, to sit down and turn that phone off, would be something I would probably have to build up. I would have to do it for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the next week I'd have to do it like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I'd have to do it in
build up. Yeah.
Because the 30-minute mark, I would probably go crazy or I would fall asleep, which probably isn't bad. But anyone that can meditate on a regular basis, like, kudos to you, because that probably takes a lot more effort than the mindless zoning out that we were talking about.
Yeah. And something that, like, I'm impressed with Lauren. So my wife, her name is Lauren. So for, I don't remember exactly how many years it's been now, but it's been a while. But she literally every morning, she has her routine where she does yoga and spends a little bit of time in meditation. And she's been doing that every morning for quite some time, and like really rarely misses a day. And if she misses a day, it's because typically something important has happened, or, like an emergency, or just something happened. But she does not miss a day with doing her morning yoga with a little bit of meditation afterwards. And I'm just like, I just can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can, but I'm so happy that you can do that.
Well, if you're staying up late at night, obviously.
That's true too. I'm typically up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then wake up, go to work in the morning. But that's just the only time I feel like I have to myself to work on things and,
for sure,
allow my mind to be creative. And, that's where I have all my ideas. And that's why I'm always doing 30 different things at once. But yeah, so David Lynch, if someone as crazy of a mind as Lynch can do meditation in the morning, I guess anyone can, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that mind is just... Have you watched his YouTube videos? Was it YouTube or Twitter? It may have been Twitter. I don't know, but he would post daily videos for quite a while where literally he would just update you on the weather. He'd be like, "It's sunny outside today. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye." And it was like a little 6-second video. He was like daily videos.
I'll be honest, I didn't even know he was still around.
Yeah, no, he's still around.
Didn't know. That's awesome.
Obviously we know Hemingway. Hemingway, prolific writer. His routine was he would, first thing in the morning, he would write every morning. Like, he was the morning writer. He would wake up in the morning, immediately start to write. And a lot of articles will talk about how he would write, see if I can say this right. So as he was writing a new story, he would write up until he knew exactly what was going to happen next. And then he would stop because he didn't want to keep going and force it. He would write until it's like, oh, and now I know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And he would wait till the next day. So he would have a starting point to go off of. So he wouldn't wake up and be like, where should I start? It's like, no, I know exactly what I'm going to do tomorrow, but I'm stopping now. Enjoy the rest of my day. Yeah. Tomorrow, get back on it. But that is someone who was a super early morning writer. Start in the morning, go until you've realized what's going to come next, and then you stop, write, stop, write, stop. That was kind of his routine.
That's interesting. That's kind of a Stephen King routine too. Stephen King is like, I sit down and I try to get 6 pages. I'm pretty sure it was 6 pages, and he'll say, I'll write my 6 pages. And then I'll stop. Sometimes I'll keep going if I feel like I have more, but usually for him it was a minimum of 6 pages, and then he felt like he had done something. And when you think about it, that's not very much to do. That's a good attainable goal.
Oh yeah.
But if you're doing 6 pages every day for 30 years, you're cranking out a ton of books.
And he's got like 1 or 2 books out, so
at least 2 or 3, But it's just crazy because in that amount of time, you are able to get an idea for where you're going, you're able to, and of course it's Stephen King.
Yeah.
But you know, he's honed that so well. It would almost be like no contest. Like, you know, he's going to have his first like 30 minutes of his day. You think he's got those 6 pages done, you know? And so 30 minutes a day, 6 pages. Yeah. I mean, dude, he could, it's an uncomprehendable thing because for one, it's Stephen King, and two, it's like, it sounds like not very much at all. And then you have to wonder, how much does he labor over those 6 pages? You know? So I don't know. It's an intriguing concept, but it's similar to what you're talking about with Hemingway.
Yeah.
Ferlinghetti said that of Bukowski. Bukowski was like the guy, he would go home and get drunk every night. And it didn't matter how drunk he got. It didn't matter how little sleep he got. Every morning, first thing, he'd sit down at the typewriter. Yeah. And that was the first thing he did. No matter how hungover, no matter how, like, what time he had to go to work, you know, or something like that. That was his routine. And I just, like, it's crazy to me that someone could have the drive to need to do something so much that the first thing you think about in the morning when you wake up, that's what you go do. And because like we're talking about, morning time is the hardest. It's the 100%. Hardest thing. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
That is interesting, yeah. Yeah, and so routines we see in a lot. Like, this one's my favorite, though. That's probably the last one I talk about that we talk about these. But her name is Karen Russell. So I actually didn't know who this author was. Karen Russell. She's written more, but at the time of this article that I was reading, she had only written one book, and it was a finalist for a Pulitzer Prize. And her book was called Swamplandia. That was nominated. But anyways, her philosophy, her routine was, her motto was, enjoy writing badly. And her thing was just write and get all the crap onto the pages. 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 6 hours, doesn't matter. Just write and write and write and get everything out there. And then take a break, come back, sort through your mess, find the good, keep the good, forget the rest, move on.
Totally.
You know, and I'm like, yes.
Totally get that. That's like the most relatable advice.
Yes.
For sure.
Just because we get in our heads so much, whether it's writing, painting, art, graphics, video, whatever it is that you do as a creative person, we get in our heads so much that we have to do it perfect the first try. You know, that has to be good the minute we put the paintbrush down to the canvas. You know, it's like that stroke has to be perfect. And it's like, no, just do the thing. You know, that's the hardest thing that I had to learn growing up, but which now I fully embrace is just do it, even if it's terrible.
Well, and the hard part of that is to sit there and wrestle with it, to sit there and allow yourself like the time and the pain and the agony to figure out your art or your craft, because you watch people who are good and they do it in what looks like 10 minutes or they do it in a day, and it's amazing, but they wrestled with that for decades. You know, they had to work so hard to even discover that about themselves. Yeah. And that's the big challenge for me is like, I want to sit down and do it. And then I wrestle with it. And then I feel that imposter syndrome come in and I feel like it's not worth it. And then you just feel like crap, you know, and you want to throw it out. And it's crazy. And so if you're not careful and you watch too many of those people and see how good they are, it will like give you a huge complex. But I remember hearing about this, Wilson Rawls, the guy who wrote Where the Red Fern Grows.
Oh yeah.
I remember hearing about this in grade school. Actually, we were talking about him as an author, and he actually didn't write, like he wrote a lot in his own time, but he didn't show anyone his writing.
Oh, really?
And he wrote so many books, but he was so, I guess he didn't feel he was good. And he actually destroyed most of his writing.
Oh, wow.
And because he just felt like it wasn't any good. He felt like no one would read it. No one would enjoy it. And his wife, I don't remember the story. I feel like either he showed his wife the book Where the Red Fern Grows, or he died and she found it.
Mm-hmm.
And and then it got published. But he just was so down on himself. He didn't feel like anyone would ever read it. He felt like, what am I even doing this for? And he like burned a bunch of his work.
He could have been enjoying life by having people enjoy his work.
How many other amazing things could we have read from him, you know? So yeah, it's that is real. If you struggle so much that you feel like you are, no matter what you do, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
If you're not careful and you pay attention to the wrong stuff, like that stuff will creep in for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's just when kind of like we talked about is like, I don't think that we can ever overcome those things. It's just learning to realize it when it happens and understanding that someone out there needs your work and just do the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's like a great motto to have is just do the dang thing.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Not Nike, but the other just do it.
Vomit it all out.
Yes.
And then let it sit there for a while and then come back and then just go from there and just whittle it down or take a part of it, throw it away and take the other part and work it.
So, you know, we're talking, like I said, we're talking about routines. So, I mean, hopefully you all listening can take something from this. You know, we're just trying to identify routines in our own lives and, you know, and I feel like it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I don't feel like there's one set, it's got to be this way or it's got to be that way, you know, and then you also have the other side of the camp where it's like, I'm only going to create when I feel inspired. Which I don't know if that's a good thing.
No.
You know, I understand.
It is, but it's not.
Yeah, exactly. No, you have to create when you are inspired. Mm-hmm. Yes. But you only create when you feel inspired or inspiration comes. That's what, once a year?
Yeah.
Once a month? Like, it's so far and few between. And then you're not even really training yourself to know what's inspiration and what's not if you're not putting the work in and trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like that is just so much the opposite end of the spectrum that you're just gonna be missing out on so much.
It's true, man. That's an easy camp to fall into.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult camp to get out of. Because it is super easy to say, I'm not going to force it. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to try and write something that I'm not feeling or whatever. Mm-hmm. But if you can be in that camp and learn to recognize inspiration or learn to recognize potential inspiration, it can be good because then everything becomes inspirational to some degree. But if you close yourself off to that, to the point of like, I'm not going to force anything. I'm just going to sit here and wait for this to come. You are never going to create. Like, it's just never going to happen. And then eventually you're going to force something or you're just going to give up altogether. So I think if you can be in that place and learn to recognize potential inspiration, it can be a very good place to be. It will become, you will get to a point where there is no such thing as writer's block. Mm-hmm. Because you will be able to recognize things and you'll be able to just take that and just put it on paper or put it on canvas or do something and turn it into something. But that requires, in a way, almost much more discipline than actually scheduling stuff out. If you schedule out things to write, you at least have your mind in the place of like, okay, well, I'm at least going to try to do something.
Yeah.
If you're waiting for inspiration, your mind, it's almost like you're giving it a free pass. You don't have to do anything until you get inspired.
Yeah.
And that, like, being able to write in that camp takes a lot more discipline than the other one, because at least on the other side, you're compartmentalizing it and giving your mind something to focus on and then giving it an excuse to not focus on. Mm-hmm. So I think that could potentially be a very good place, but it's also probably requires a lot more discipline and is a lot more detrimental if you are not disciplined in that.
Yeah. Because like, if you're just waiting for inspiration to happen, you're not even honing your craft.
Not at all.
You know, you're going to be so rusty when inspiration hits. If you're an artist, like, you're you're going to have to play catch up. If you're, a writer who hasn't written in a long time and you finally get that inspiration, you're so rusty and forget flow and whatever. It's like your craft is not honed at all.
Yeah.
So you don't even have, the chops built up to be able to actually probably even, make that come to life, the inspiration that you're getting. Or if it does, it's going to be very, very poorly done.
Yeah.
Like you were saying. So,
and it's going to look very amateurish. It's going to feel rushed. It's going to feel hasty and sloppy. And to some people, you might call that art, but for the most part, it just doesn't look like you put anything into it.
Yeah. And obviously art is objective. Everything's objective, but why not do it to the best of your ability?
Seriously, if you have a gift, especially, why not like hone that gift? Like write something every day. Doesn't matter what it is.
If it's crap, just
doesn't matter.
It,
doesn't matter. Just write out your thoughts. If that is hard for you, keep a tape recorder or something, or record voice notes on your phone. Like do something. Film something on your phone. Read something that inspires you every day, whether it's a book or a Bible verse or something. But you have to be intentional with it, and you have to feed it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it's going to starve, and then it's going to die, and you're going to lose that part of yourself.
100%. Yeah. So there you go, everybody. Routine or not to routine? That is the question. I think we all have some kind of routine. Just it all looks different. Like we're talking, we are the night owls. We love the nighttime creativity, and some are those weird morning people. But we're all weird in our own ways. So routine or not, it's up to you to decide how you want to do it, but just create the stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever your routine is, just create the stuff.
I am taking some stuff away from this. I do want to be more intentional with my time in the morning for sure. And I want to spend less time on my phone.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something to take away.
That's something to take away from this episode. There you go.
10 minutes, 15 minutes intentionally.
Or if you typically are like someone who will spend an hour at night on your phone checking things, maybe cut it down for 30 minutes, and then that other 30 minutes that you would normally be on your phone, go create something. Yeah. Go learn a new language. Go watch a tutorial. Kind of change it up in a sense. But yeah. So there you go. That's our episode. Goodbye, everybody. No. I think that's great. We got some good talking on routines, and so please give us your feedback. Leave a comment in the video what you thought and what your routine is, and just let us know. We want to know more about it.
Do you have an artist or an author who had a routine that you enjoy?
Yeah.
Send us that. We'd love to hear about that too.
Because we may connect with the routine and be like, oh, I actually kind of want to try that.
Totally.
I'm not going to do the meditation every day, but all right. So I think it's that time of the episode where we decide what we're going to do next week.
Let's do it.
All right. Let me pull up the list here. So listeners, if this is your first episode, and you're like, what the heck are they talking about? We will draw a random prompt, and next week we will write a poem based on that prompt. That's what we do at the start of every episode.
What?
1 through 10 this time. We got some more added.
Ooh, 1 through 10. Okay. Are we ready?
Yep.
Number 8.
8. Ooh. That is my wife.
Oh, very nice.
My wife, Lauren, actually submitted one, and it's on Frisian.
Frisian?
Do you know what Frisian is?
I don't know.
It's either Frisian or Frishon. I don't know exactly the way to pronounce it. I think it's Frisian. It's Frisson. So Frisian is that, it's the word for that feeling that you get. So it's like when you get goosebumps.
Oh, okay.
When you listen to that song and you're just like, oh my gosh, like you just get all the feels, your hair sticks up, like you hear those notes and you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? And you just get that feeling. Or like when you hear like music build up like in an orchestra and then it all comes crashing down at that moment and you just like, whoo,
chills.
You just get those chills. That's what Frisian is.
Interesting. I did not know that was the name for that, honestly. Okay, cool. I love that.
I think that's going to make a really great poem.
Good challenge. Okay. I'm excited for that one.
Or it could be just like that feeling of love that also just kind of overwhelms you and causes you to, That's what Frisian is. So
Awesome.
That's what we're going to write next week. So thank you, Lauren, for the sending that in. Which she didn't have to send it very far. I live with her. But no, we need more prompts. Thank you to everyone who's been sending them in already. So that's super awesome of you all. But send us more. Yeah, and where can they find us, Ben?
Dude, don't put me on the spot, man. I can't even remember my own website. What are you talking about?
You can find us on YouTube if that's where you're watching right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Stitcher, Google Play,
TikTok.
Oh, yes, TikTok, Instagram. You find us on all those places. You know what will also really help us out is if you leave us a rating on Spotify or Apple Music or the Google Store. Please leave us a rating. That lets people know that we're kind of doing something cool.
Yeah.
And it gets, it helps spread the word. So that is something you can do for free to help us out is by giving us that rating, and just the world can know that we exist. We just want to share positivity with creatives and talk about all things creative and share our love of poetry with you all. So with that being said, we will see you all next week. I'm Corey.
I'm Ben.
See you next week.
Peace.